Hey guys, so we're back on. I had to press the live button. And as you can see, we're here with Marni Ratner. So excited for you to be here today.
Well, that makes me sound so cool.
Well, you are cool.
Oh my.
So we're so excited to be here. And as you can tell, we're in a different location. We're at Holistic Chamber of Commerce. And right in the only area, so anyone that's local, definitely check it out. They have a webpage, Facebook, and we'll definitely put some links also at the end of this video. And anyone jumping on, please say hi, say hello. I'm so excited to be here, actually physically in the presence of my guest, Marni.
That place I spend so much time at.
Yes, right? So Marni is amazing, by the way.
Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. She is the founder of Universal Space, and she has had such a beautiful journey when it comes to her own authenticity and her ways of staying authentic on off-Broadway in New York, as well as other areas in the United States,
Yep.
And coaching people through theatrical productions, as well as coming into a beautiful energetic space, doing everything under the sun, such as Reiki. She has a voice studio for people, and a few other programs that we're going to be talking about today. So welcome, Marni. It's so great having you.
Thank you. I also want to quickly shout out that where Holistic Chamber of
Yes.
Commerce and Only lives is actually Flourish Wellness and Counseling Center.
Correct.
So it's really a great place. There's the most amazing vibe here, and it is such the most natural place to bring all of these holistic practitioners together under one
Perfect.
roof and kind of move a message out
Perfect.
into the world. So let's talk about us.
Yes,
Yes.
please. So, Marni, can you tell us a little bit about who you are and how you came from a beautiful space of the theatrical field into what you're doing now?
Absolutely, I would love to. Well, I was that little girl at 4 years old who took dance. I mean, I think I took dance before that even. I think they put tap shoes on me before I was even walking fast.
I love that.
But I always had a dream that I was going to be rich and famous and
Yep.
be seen and
Yep.
be heard and be understood. So I
that.
danced from pretty much from the get-go, watching the Nutcracker on the TV. But jump ahead a few years, found out that I had a lot of learning disabilities, difficulties, depending on what we call them now. If I was born now, I would have probably been in school very differently.
Gotcha.
But in the world of dance and theater, I found a home. It worked with my brain, and it gave me a space to kind of let loose and really explore. And that was fraught with difficulties too. I had a woman's body at 8. But I just loved the expression of it, and so I continued with it, and I went to college for it, and I really did have a magic wand one day, like a proverbial, if I had a magic wand, what would I do and what would I do with my life? And that was to be on a soap opera. That was my fantasy, and or be on the remake of the Godspell cast album. There's been many remakes of Godspell, but when I was like 10, that's what I'd be singing in my living room. It's where I learned how to speak. It's where I learned how to communicate. It's where I learned about energy. I come from theatrical parents and artistic parents, so it was really cultivated in me. And it was a great go at it. I went to a great school. I went to New York. I worked my butt off trying to fit everybody's mold. And what is so true and really what brought me here, like truly the bridge that brought me here, is I wanted to be what the world wanted to see. And I did not fit into any of those models. And I went and saw a psychic who said to me the day before I started the Boston Conservatory. So put that nugget in your brain. You're about to start one of the most prestigious programs in America, and some psychic on Newbury Street says to me, if you're not going to be somebody's muse, you're going to be a teacher.
Oh, wow.
Now, it wasn't said, if she actually flipped it around, it was not so, dramatic, but it might as well have been. It could have been. It was just daggers in my heart.
Yeah.
If I'm not going to be somebody's muse, that she did say. So I said, okay, I guess I'm Patti LuPone. I'm going to be Bernadette Peters. I'm going to be, one of the biggies. Well, that didn't happen. So I didn't fit. I didn't fit, and I spent years trying to fit. Am I an ingenue? I'm a character. Well, who am I? I can dance, but I still have the hips. What am I going to do?
Yeah.
So eventually, with the way the world worked, I ended up being by choice, a parent and a stay-at-home mom for a while.
That's beautiful.
It's really brought everything together.
I love that. And can you take us back to that moment on Newberry Street when she did say those things to you? I'm assuming, your ego went in flames and it was taking you all these directions mentally and emotionally. How did you ground back into your body during that time?
As if she had magical powers, I was going to have to prove her wrong.
Okay.
Rather than pick up on the sentence, if you are going to be somebody's muse, it will work. So because that was connected to love, being loved, being seen.
Correct.
That was too scary. I had just broken up with my boyfriend to go to college, to go to school. So that really wasn't a possibility in my mind.
Yes.
It's funny, I haven't really talked about this story for a very long time. So it became more of I'm going to be successful in spite of, rather than I'm going to be the next Bernadette Peters or the next Patti LuPone. I smushed myself into a role of that I had to look like everybody else. And nothing about me really, I already said that, it just wasn't. My voice doesn't sound like anybody's. I'm my own character, but that was too scary.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing. Yeah. So how did you get to the point where you were confident with who you were and did allow your authentic style to show through all the works you were doing? I know that's a process in itself. That's a huge question.
Oh, I have like 17 answers. I'm going to pick two. Pretty much the very first person I met in New York was who I perceived as a threat and a nemesis. Turned out to be my best friend, who we'll get back to her because she comes in for a completely different reason at the end of the story.
I love that.
My friend Erin, we started producing things right off the get-go. How do we create our own work? How do we create it with purpose? Why am I an actor? Why am I a singer? Why am I really doing this if I can dig deeper? So we would just kind of produce our own little cabarets. And sometimes they weren't so little, so I got to pick songs, or she got to pick songs for me that showed me off. And what I recognized really quickly, because I did very well at my school. I mean, I definitely knew that I had the X factor. So she saw that in me, gave me a lot of opportunity to sing really amazing pieces and kind of put my being a storyteller first and foremost. That's why we perform. Yeah. That gave me that kind of vehicle to do that, and I really found confidence in there. So it did bring me to really the highest level of performance, of knowing. It was the closest that I got to really understanding who I was when I was in the business with a little bit of opportunity. But the huge shift was after I had kids, after I was teaching other kids, after I was teaching voice, when I realized what I didn't understand then, which I understand wholeheartedly now, is I didn't understand how the rest of me was connected. If I wasn't dancing the music, if this wasn't part of it, I was singing so emotionally, so intellectually, so heady that you either loved me or you hated it. So it wasn't until I was away from it long enough that I'm like, wait a minute. I am not using my big thighs, which make amazing sound. I'm not using them to support me. And it was other modalities that was where I hooked it in. It was starting to do weightlifting, where I'm like, wait a minute, this goes together. Yoga, oh my God, this goes together. This is a part of me. And when I brought those together, then I have been, confidence just literally fused together. And that's what is basically in everything I teach, that's what I teach.
That's beautiful.
We can't disconnect the two, but if we don't understand how your body supports your thoughts and your thoughts support your body, and how the blood and the chi and all levels that it all, blah, 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 blah. And if you want to get in front of a camera or get in front of the people and have conviction and passion, that's truly what being authentic is. I'm going to bring all of me, and I'm not going to fit myself into what I think it is that you want to see.
And I think that's the key for everyone to hear right here, right now, because everyone's looking at, well, I don't see how this is going to fit 5, 10, 15 years down the line. So I don't really know how it's going to work for me now. And it doesn't matter what's 5, 10, 15 years down the line. It matters right here, right now, what you need to do as far as yourself, your soul, and your passions going forward. And I think that's gorgeous. That's amazing. And that's something truly to share. And I know before we went live today, we were talking about how people understand on a physical level what they need to do for their body, but they don't really get it on an emotional and mental level. Can you talk to us about the work you do for people on a mental and emotional level when it comes to really feeling into and being into the body.
I mean, I think there's so many ways into even that sentence that those few sentences you just said. I could start from so many different angles. So I apologize if I don't answer it exactly the way that you're asking me. But I find more often than not, I would say anybody who doesn't go through this route is rare. I feel like most of us, when we're in a class, is we are trying to have a physical experience, as if it alleviates us or transports us away from an emotion and a feeling, rather than uniting them in the moment of, when I'm breathing, when I'm calming down, all of me is calming down, and taking note of that feeling and really letting that sit. And I love the word marinate. You're going to hear me say it a lot. Marinate for a while. Or I go out of body and then I try to interpret it later so the two unions don't fuse, or the two dualities don't unionize and come together. So I find people are constantly going back and forth of, well, I feel good right now, but maybe it was the margarita I had before class, rather than the experience. I don't think I've ever had anyone drink a margarita before class, but maybe they have. So I don't know where I pulled that from, but okay, that was real life.
Yeah.
But I do feel like consistently in my classes, because we get really heavy really fast, it's really deep, it's really cellular, it's really the autonomic nervous system. I mean, we really work heavily in the science of what's happening in our body. And just to kind of give us all a little bit of a room to breathe, this is information that really wasn't spoken about until like the last 7 to 10 years.
Correct.
It wasn't even written about until 1994.
Correct.
So to be in my class and to get so much information of, okay, when this happens, this is what's happening. When this happens, this is what's happening.
Yeah.
Oh, these are your chakras? How interesting. They're also the front part of my mammalian brain. What a quinky dink. They don't, just like everything else, knowing the science and knowing the history, or what's the spiritual view of this really unite, is really no different than the body taking in the message or the brain taking the message, and where the two unite. It's as if literally we choose, I was going to say a predecessor, but that's not the right word, a dominant. That right now the dominant is my body feeling something, and then I try to figure out what it is after the fact, or vice versa. And what I try to train us is, no, these happen together. Those little synapses, those little feelings and neurons and those little receptors that are intercepting in your body are like megaseconds, like micro, instantaneously interpreting as it goes. But to be in that, kind of that state of the brain of pre-hypnosis, you're still at that sense of awareness of, I feel good because I feel good, because I'm present.
Beautiful.
So it's kind of slowing ourselves down, and I'm even hearing my voice deepen and get softer and gentler as I feel very rooted. So
that's
I hope
beautiful.
I kind of answered
Yes,
it.
and we'll definitely go back to each class and how you do the inner workings of that. One of the classes that Marni does is so beautiful is the voice lessons. And if you heard me laughing about deepening the voice, is because my mom always had me go to voice lessons when I was young. And it's a huge trigger for me that my voice is too shrill, right? So I work constantly on deepening my voice. So it's just so funny that Marni picked up on that and mentioned that. And it's something we were talking about earlier, so that's why I'm laughing.
It must have been some internal message that says, bring it up here. But I noticed it, because I'm quite shrill and nasal, and I'm like, wow, I really feel passionate right now.
Yes. Exactly. So grounding. So take us into your voice lessons that you do through the universal space.
Good one. Good name. I like how you said that. Nice pause. Well, it was my introduction to all of this. That is where I took from my own experience into theater, what I was doing as I was coaching people in New York. I consider myself as an acting singing teacher, because I don't actually play piano. I'm good with why we say what we say, and why music really gets right through it and kind of brings that mind and body together so nicely. So I kind of did a good job at this from the get-go. So in a singing lesson, I was teaching very traditionally until I started weightlifting and doing more body work and yoga. So where we are now, it almost sounds like a repetition of what I said before, but it's not, because we're uniquely talking about a voice lesson. Is as we sing, We need to know where that production is coming from, where we're grounding from, and most importantly, which I never learned, and I had amazing voice teachers, and I tip my hat to them because I had an amazing life, and I sing well, and to them, thanks to them, but I never thought about it, and the fact is, I never thought I was resonating from my body. I was resonating in the resonators in my face. And what I see in younger students all the time is this stress component that happens right here, right above the heart, right below the throat chakra, where there's so much tension in the top of their chest where their ribs come together. So the lack of capacity to breathe deep, to make a deep sound without, quote, the belt sound, is implausible. So the breathing apparatus is off. They don't know how to connect to their lower part of the body. With only in later years did I recognize, oh my gosh, that's an autonomic nervous response, that they are truly clicking in only to their most modern brain part, when what I need them is to click in below the diaphragm, so here down, and that became so grounded. Not a lot of teens like that feeling.
Yes.
So they don't want to feel. So now a voice lesson is body work. So I have created, I shouldn't say created, because if any of my students, you would think I made Frankenstein, and I don't think I've created any Frankensteins, but my beautiful students, they are now actors.
Wow.
And they are technicians, and they emote. And I mean in the truest sense of mind-body emoting. It is a full-body expression. So we sing from our toes, sing up to our nose.
Wow.
And it's a long journey for most of them.
Wow.
Some of them are not the most natural singers. Some of them are naturally gifted, but they like the sound of their voice, and I have to get them out of listening and just really translating what the stories are about, and more importantly, what's under the story. Why are we telling the story? Why are you a steward of the future, as you being the artist?
Wow.
So that's how I like to teach, and that's why my students stay for a long time.
That is so beautiful, and it really gets us back to the idea of authenticity, because when you hear authenticity, you just think of heart and soul, but you never think of authenticity as deep down into the body, as well as grounding, right? It's all etherical. So you're really bringing that authenticity down within the body and for a grounding mechanism.
So from the second it hit me what it meant to me, and I actually said to Danielle, I thought it was very interesting that you picked me for authenticity, because it was my biggest argument on Facebook I've ever had. There's not even a close second of how between my yogi friends and my not yogi friends responding to what I was flame throwing about what authentic meant and didn't mean. I believe I won the fight, but I'm not. But it really did. I really think I won the fight, and I was some really intelligent people. If you don't know who you are, and some really amazing people really don't know who they are, and if you don't know what you're willing to do, and more importantly, what you're willing not to do. So you don't know your no, and you don't know your yes.
Yeah.
But you can talk about it to the sky is blue. It sounds good. You are like, man, you're a great orator. You're amazing. You're so smart. You're so slick. But when it's in real time, and suddenly you're like, oh no, I could do that. Because I'm just being authentic.
Yeah.
That's what I was hearing a lot of. I feel good, so that's being authentic. That is not authenticity.
So can you give us some tips between the verbiage that people use and really give them a test where they can see that they're really not being authentic to themselves in that moment? Because sometimes it's really hard for people to know, well, am I doing this out of what I love, or do I just love them so much, this other person so much? And it doesn't even have to be romantic relationships, just even in a
just
business
an easy
sense.
picture. It's an easy
picture of, am I being authentic or am I not being authentic in this moment?
It goes really closely with ownership and accountability. Okay. And I believe authenticity is, I would do it again. Oh. That when you are very close to your core of this is what I stand for, if I had an opportunity to repeat it, would I do it again? Wow. And we all make bad decisions, and they're authentic. Authentic is an action. It is, authentic isn't a personal, it's not a quality, it's not a type. Authenticity, being authentic you're authentically human. You're authentically sitting here. You're sitting here, you're in your seat. So clear as day, if I really know what I stand for, who I am, I don't eat glass. But that glass looks amazing. Glass is what a bad example again. I don't eat meat.
Yeah.
But I really want a burger today. Well, I authentically want a burger. Well, that's true. You do authentically want a burger, but you're not authentically a vegetarian. So this is not anything to get mad about or be upset about or struggle about. It's just that you check in with your core and saying, okay, this is what I want. I'm willing to accept the ramifications of my choice. I feel okay inside. I can answer to my God and be okay. I can sleep with myself, and I'm not shifting around the pieces. I'm not making the puzzle work for me, but I'm working for it. So in this big moment, this literally come to Jesus moment was somebody, a friend of mine had done something that was unfavorable, and they're like, well, she was just being authentic. And authentic sometimes hurts. And I'm like, yes, but that can't be your reason to make it
to make it okay.
To make it okay. It's not a thin veil to do whatever you want. Authenticity it's really what makes me whole, and I fully take on all of the colors that surround that choice. And I understand and I own it, and this is what's right for me.
Even if they're not someone else's colors at that time.
Absolutely.
You own it even when it's not someone else's flavor.
Absolutely.
I love that.
And sometimes it's difficult to swallow.
Yes.
And sometimes it's perfection.
Wow.
So it's as I was thinking last night, and as I'm remembering of why authenticity really works for me, is I know that I'm not everybody's best friend, and I know sometimes I throw flames, and I know sometimes flames are thrown back at me, and I'm okay with it because I know what's going to happen going in. Saying, this is how I feel about something political, and we can have that conversation and walk away okay, because I'm just being authentic to how I feel, which is not a judgment on how you feel.
No.
And that's a big difference.
So really, you're separating yourself from ego by being so true and authentic, because ego always has a right and a wrong. But once you're being authentic, you can leave and say, you know what, I did what I wanted to do and what was for my purpose, even if it didn't serve someone else, because I know they have the power to walk away if they don't like it, and to walk away respectfully for their own authentic power. And I love that.
And I mean,
That's
how
beautiful.
Generous and how much gratitude, and I mean, how beautiful can you be as a person saying, is my choice that was so right for me hurt you, and I'm so incredibly sorry that it hurt you. And the truest sense of man, the truest sense of character is as the person who did something that was truly authentic but also incredibly painful. I mean, and we can fit this in any situation. This is not relationships. Is to go away and say, where am I? Am I grounded with my choice? Am I pulling from air to make it work? Again, making those pieces work. Am I trying to put a square in a circle peg? Or no, that really is who I am. And I recognize that I'll be seen as a wonderful hero or a villain. But it was right. It was really, truly right for me. And in not bringing it back to my classes, but this does come up when people are on their mats or in my studio, whatever we're working on, and they're struggling with something, it comes up again and again. These are intellectual thoughts, but they show up in the body again and again and again. Full circle to our conversation is the stuff comes up in the body. So many people don't know to assign it to what they're struggling with, or confirmation that they were right.
Wow.
I mean, we are storytellers. We can shift. We can make things work for ourselves.
We can.
Yeah, absolutely.
We can.
So it is interesting to watch people figure things out when they're given space.
That's beautiful. So tell us a little bit more about the Achievement Project, what you do for the teens and wellness. It's a perfect segue into that beautiful opportunity that any teens can take part in.
Okay, so thank you for that.
She's been waiting.
No, I would want to talk about this with like everybody, and if I see you and I don't even know who's out there, like I can find you on the street corner, I might like knock you over and say, hey, can I tell you about this? Because you might be hearing a lot about it. If I got to choose, if I got to choose one group of people that I could work with, I work with all age groups, but if I had to choose one, it would be under 20s. And so not little kids per se, but I have a lot of history with there. but I'm focusing on preteen and teens. To me, they are the age group that I connect with best from a teacher perspective to a student perspective. So the Achieve Project, which is one of my offerings, one of my programs at Universal Space, is something that was brought to me by one of my voice student families asking about acting programs. And I'm like, well, if I'm going to write an acting program, it's going to be about wellness and mindfulness and advocacy, and it's going to be about social integration and, mind and body integration, blah, 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 dot, 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 dot. So, I went to work right away. She's like, well, I'll fill up a class. Let's do it.
Wow.
And the Achieve Project was born. It did have a predecessor. I was working on a show in town, because something Universal Space also does is if I can't write a program, I'll bring a program in. I just have a really nice experience of people I've met out in the world, and I think I see I see X factors in other people. So I'm like, can you come and do the show? So I was doing a show, and it's called Right Before I Go, which is my friend Stan, who is a very well-known Hollywood TV writer. His friend had left his life by choice.
Oh wow. Okay.
And left my friend Stan going, well, what can I do now? What can I do now? This was a beautiful, amazing human being, and out of respect, how do I create something in his honor that gives me purpose and sense? Oh, well, I'm a writer. Why don't I write something? Years later, it's called Right Before I Go. We brought it to Maryland with my friend from La Vie Productions, Erin, the first person I spoke about, who gave me lots of songs, very full circle, very symbiotic, very synergist. And it was right as I was launching Universal Space. We put on the show with all of these famous actors, and local famous actors and Hollywood actors came in to perform the show, which were all suicide letters.
Wow.
So here a year later, we're taking the show. It's been rewritten pretty intensely, so somebody that's like 17 could read it and you wouldn't go, oh my God, what are they reading? You might go, oh my God, what are they reading? But you'd be able to listen. And adding my Achieve Project technique as an acting, social activism, mind and body class. So we're doing a camp. So the Achieve Project is a new way to look at how arts and communication and advocacy all fuse together.
Wow.
Using some things, a lot of therapeutic, evidence-based therapeutic guidelines. Because again, once something shows up in the body and we assign it a meaning, you can imagine a 16-year-old could just walk to the corner and fall to pieces, and we'll have no reason, we'll not know why. Why did that happen? And that does happen, so we're really equipped with that. So right now we are 2 therapists and 2 arts education people. Wow. So I still consider myself as arts education as much as mind body. It's all the same, right? It's all put together. So the Achieve Project is a 2-week camp intensive where we learn my technique on how to act that really implores and really leans on the 4 Agreements by Dan Ruiz, really seeped in mindfulness and therapeutic models. And we're going to write a PSA, and then we're going to bring my friend Stan in, and we're going to do the play Right Before I Go. But all the kids get to write the prologue, and then the next hour after the show, write an hour, so they get to do poetry slam. They get to do whatever it does that says, as a teen, I am the future. I am the best advocate for my mental wealth.
Wow.
So when I wrote mental wealth the other day, I meant that.
That's so beautiful.
I need a pocket. I need a purse full of change to rely on, because sometimes, I'm sorry for anybody who's my age, who's got kids already, sometimes we kind of mess this part up. It's just a slightly different world for you guys. So we, with all of my experience and with the people that I know and with people like you, because we just decided today that I'm going to bring you in, right? To talk to them, because you speak their language, that they're going to start to have to look to each other to kind of rewrite the narrative and how they tell a story through their body. So I have to teach every single kid in America how their body's connected to their head, because that's where we're starting, and that's why I'm so passionate. None of them got it. None of them know it.
Wow.
They are an offspring of generations before, and this part doesn't exist.
Yes.
And being in a dance body and having a dance professional career and watching dancers,
Yeah. So it's really just bringing these kids back into their body.
Absolutely.
And this is going to be offered in the Maryland area, I'm assuming.
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Yes,
perfect.
locally for now, and our hopes by next year is we'll be in Montgomery County Public Schools.
Oh, beautiful.
That's what I'm hoping. It might take a little longer than a year because it is so late in this year.
Correct.
But that is what I'm really looking forward to. Is I think that's where we are most serviced, serviceable, most needed.
Yes.
And understanding that even our kids in a leadership track are no different than our kids who don't fit in.
Yeah. And just really getting back into the body, understanding the body so much more, understanding your emotional process. Because really, we were never told this.
Yeah, right. I'm saying it's not your
generations were never told. In before that, I mean, we came from our grandfathers were in the world, in World War II or World War I, and before that it was another war, and then before that it was Vikings, and
well, you're opening up the whole story of what the definition of the ghost is. The ghost on the back is. Exactly. So yes, that is what we're seeing. I'm seeing literally. I mean, it's funny. I give this analogy all the time. The way that my world has gone, the personal Marni narrative for the last 2 years, as if, you know, my guides have said, we're going to throw you into the trenches and you are going to see things in real time. You're not going to get your grad degree. You're going to be thrown into weird situations in real time, and we're going to see how you do.
Wow.
So yeah, I do find that all of our kids are products of their parents and their grandparents and the grandparents living in a war technological, did I say that right?
Yeah.
Okay, because suddenly I was missing a whole little chunk. And in a therapeutic age.
That's beautiful.
Which is very much here up, and so many of our body modalities are from here down. And so this project, which I think is, I think we have nobody doing it besides us, is on a real global sense. I think it speaks to our global selves.
Wow, and it spheres both worlds together in such a collective and creative way. I think that's amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Also, you transition into Reiki and then Move My Chi, which is a meditation. And tell us a little bit more about that. Is it also, do you infuse this into the Achievement Project, or is this separate? Or
well, it's pretty simple because that is my biggest fear in my own trying to become a little bit more savvy is all of these little spheres that don't necessarily to the onlooker seem connected, but they're extremely connected. So just in my toolbox, I've had my Reiki 1 for 14 years, and so I was doing it for 14, and I didn't even know that I was because I forgot that I was.
And explain Reiki for anyone that may not know.
Reiki and because I like the science part of it. So true story, my dear teacher Erica, who I loved, I said, so what is Reiki? She's like, I don't know. And she's not that kind of, I don't know, person, but it was a joke, but it was incredibly powerful to me. So Reiki is basically where your hands are on them, light touch, or above them, and it's the medicine of all of our predecessors. Jesus. You know, all the spiritual, the hands-on changing. So what it is it's working with your energy body. My energy is waking up your energy. And it's hard to explain why that works, but it does work. But if you knew what I know for the last 7 years, one could also argue there's a huge connection with your energetic body is also the tips, the edges of your autonomic nervous system. And my energy is meeting you at where your energy begins. And so we're talking.
On a cellular level.
On a cellular level. Wow. We're talking like a watch, like a crystal. It's it doesn't feel different than if you put like a quartz here or a quartz here. But I'm using my very powerful hands where all my receptors end, where I have so many of them that send so many messages to my brain, and I put them to areas of your body, it responds. The only thing I can say with 100% certainty, because I'm still left with questions, except that I trust it, is that every person I have ever worked with feels intrinsically or infinitely better.
Wow, that's beautiful.
Now, like a yoga class, sometimes it doesn't last very long. But in that, with intention, with anchors, with information, they can hold on to it. If they then intellectualize what happened in the body, I'm giving you a bigger capacity to hold on to what you felt.
That's beautiful.
And this is something we can do to ourselves. So it does work with teens because we're not the age.
Yes.
And again, if you don't understand your body and there's a frenetic response, Reiki has worked masterfully of just kind of, imagine you just have like little flares coming off of your body and you're feeling really, and someone's like, you're so charged up. Have you had caffeine? That just the second we leave the head, the rest of us follows. It just happens.
That's
so
beautiful.
Move my chi, we work on it, and we just get more time to meditate. It's a nice modality for women who are in transition or just really at the beginning of their spiritual awakening or their religious awakening, because they aren't any different. We just use different characters in the story. Inflammatory again, isn't it? But it seems to calm them and inform them at the same time. The Achieve Project seems to work better for the young ones because it's just much slower and there's more verbal storytelling and there's more on your feet. You know, I don't know if they want to dance around the room pretending they're a chicken for an hour. We don't do that, but sometimes it feels that way. And Reiki just is sometimes, it's a natural place to go before or after a group session for certain people who just need a little more time.
That's beautiful.
It's like built-in time.
Yeah. And for those people that are still on the fence of whether they should go into a Reiki session or not, what is some advice you can tell them or some things that they can be aware of how they're going to feel after? I know you did a touch point of a few, but what have you seen that is the main thing of maybe they control their emotions and their mind better?
That's an amazing question, and I try to answer that the best I can when I remember to tell somebody new. When you go into a Reiki session, and I mean this, it's because it's so, I mean, acupuncture too, but unlike other things is we don't need you to show up to the Reiki session. You just come to that table and you take a load off and something energetic happens, and I don't want to say you can't help, but it is so much easier to allow yourself to just dissolve and melt into that table where you feel really supported. And I mean under the underbody feels really deep in that table. And I now worked with enough people to know that there is a consistent vibe of the way you set up the session, and I imagine other Reiki practitioners are the same way, is I trust you. And you start at the most trusting place on my body, most trusting place on my body. And these are all, if you think about it, the intuitive places that your mama or your papa or whoever took care of you, that nurtured you, touched you too. And they're, you know, corresponding nerve endings, and we call them in the spiritual, I mean the body work modalities, where oh gosh, the word escapes me. Meridians on the end of the meridian lines. What I would expect is say, allow yourself to rest. Allow yourself to give in to the pleasure of not having to do anything to receive some energy to help move the parts of you that feel a little gooey, which we also know now is your fascia.
That's huge.
Yeah.
That is huge.
So if I can help move your external, your fascia coat that's under your epidermis and find a little resolve, and then you can attach that to a word of, it's possible I can feel this way again. You want to come back. That's beautiful.
That's beautiful.
I wish more people did it. I wish more people did it.
Well, now they are. Now that they're going to see you, and now they are. That's awesome.
I hope so. There's a lot of us out there.
That's so beautiful. So tell us how we can connect with you, whether that's through Holistic Chamber of Commerce, which we are. Flourish, we're here right now, which is amazing. Yep, this beautiful space was brought to you by Flourish.
Wish we could turn the camera on.
Yeah, right? So tell us how we can connect with you, how we can, maybe if we have a child that's a teenager, how they can sign up for a program that you're doing.
Or even a consult would be
even a consult,
great
right?
service to me. So again, my name is Marni Ratner. I am on Facebook as Marni Ratner. I am on Instagram as Marni_Ratner. If you look up Universal Space, so Universal, SOUL space is one word, Marni Ratner will still come up. My website is Universal Space. My email is mizmarni@gmail.com. And but if you connect to me on Facebook or here, I'm a social media whore, and I'm not recovering, and I'm not going to recover anytime soon. I will see your post and I will contact you.
That's awesome.
So I always look for people to talk to who might further, like Danielle, further the agenda that so much of the work we're all doing is actually the same work.
Yeah.
And it's just in a tricky world where we're all on the same platform.
Yeah.
And trying to be authentic is recognize not what sounds good, just like putting on a role on your resume. It's not what sounds good, it's what feels right.
Yeah.
And so that took me a long time to get there.
That's beautiful. That's
Like
beautiful.
that is very good metaphor. Like what sound.
It's
So,
what feels
yeah,
right
what
and going
feels
into the
right.
feeling. And I think we're starting to really understand and go within that feeling
Yeah.
space. Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Marni, for visiting with us today. I told you guys you get so many laughs. You get so much
I
fun.
don't know if you laugh.
Oh my gosh, Marni is just amazing in everything she does, and we love her so much.
I do sleep at night, by the way.
Do you?
Not every
No,
night.
not every night. So we'll definitely put some information about Marni below, and if you have any other questions, you know how to reach us through these comments. I've seen a few comments. Hello. Thank you so much for joining us. If there's any other comments, I will definitely answer. Both Marni and I will definitely answer at the end of this video. Thank you guys so much. I hope you have a beautiful day, and I'm going to shut it off right now. Thanks, guys. Bye.